you have to think about content through the lens of being a consumer too. Are you as a
Yes.
person more likely to engage with this content creator who has their ish together all the time and is constantly just like shoving information down your throat from a state of like, sitting on their high horse? Or are you going to engage with somebody that you feel some sort of personal connection to because you've
Correct.
gotten to know them as a person?
Welcome to Accidentally Influential, the show for educators, experts, and creators who never meant to build a platform but want to monetize it beyond their own community. I'm Kate.
And I'm T. Combined, we've built an audience of nearly 500,000 followers and landed over $500,000 in brand deals. Now, we help you turn knowledge into cash, content into partnerships, and influence into a business that pays.
You might have become accidentally influential,
but what you do with it now, that part's intentional. Let's make some money.
All right. Hey, T. Welcome back to another episode of Accidentally Influential.
Excited to be here. We got some good stuff going on today.
Oh my gosh, we have so much good stuff to talk about today. And that's why I think we should just jump straight into it.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to cover one of the biggest myths in the creator economy, and that is that brands only want to work with mega creators. I don't know about you, but when I first started my social media handles, I did not think that brands wanted to work with someone who only had 10,000 followers. Like, I knew that brands wanted to work with creators maybe like Kim Kardashian, but like Kate Robb? No, there's no way that they want to pay Kate Robb to talk about their brand, right? Did you have like similar conceptions about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like total not an influencer status.
Yep.
Like it never occurred to me. Like I mentioned in the first episode that the first time a brand reached out to me, I had just like stars in my eyes. I couldn't even believe it. And I even accepted like a bunch of gifted collabs and was really excited about affiliate relationships, but I think that just goes to show how little I valued the work that I was bringing from a brand's perspective. I just had no idea. I thought I had to be a huge creator to be an influencer.
No, I totally agree. And I think also in the educational content creator space, the EDUcreator space, there are not like a ton of people talking about the money that is out there to be made or the size that some of these creators were whenever brands first started reaching out to want to work with them. So I think that's kind of, once again, the gap we're trying to fill because, guys, you do not need to have a huge following in order to start making money through your content, especially when your audience is engaged. And that's really the topic that we're going to be talking about today is engagement rates, which sounds boring, but we're going to make it not boring.
Yeah. And that's a perfect segue. Like we're going to start talking about engagement, why it matters more than followers, why it's the most important metric, and why we need to be able to calculate it and communicate it from a very confident standpoint when we're talking to brands. Because brands don't care about followers. They don't cash our checks. They're not what's going to make you money. There shouldn't be some magical follower threshold that we're waiting to hit before we start monetizing our content. So Kate, question for you. Do you remember how many followers you had when you landed your first deal?
All right. We all know Kate messed up by not putting a link in her bio. That will just continue to be part of this podcast where you guys will hear me say over and over again, like how big of a mistake that was. But I want to say when I put my link in bio, I had around maybe 40,000 followers, and it was pretty much instantaneous that brands started reaching out to me.
And that was on TikTok, right?
That was on TikTok, only TikTok. It was crazy to me. Like I, in that moment, realized how many opportunities I probably left on the table because in my eyes, 40,000 followers definitely felt like a lot, but I still wasn't this like mega influencer
Totally.
Brands wanted to work with. I still viewed myself as like a smaller creator at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know who you followed on TikTok. I didn't at the time follow a lot of EDUcreators because accidentally influential, like our accounts kind of just blew up when we started talking about things that we cared about. The people that I did follow and the big accounts, they were not in the education space. And had their Amazon hauls and things that they're selling, physical items from brands. And you could tell that those partnerships were paying them, So I didn't have we didn't have any examples of what this looked like in our space. So
yeah, I think
it's just so interesting.
Right. Do you remember your first paid partnership? Like how many followers you had when that happened?
Yeah, I was around 40,000 too. And I didn't have a link in my bio. So
nice.
At that time, it came through my DMs, and it was kind of a miracle that I even saw it, because when your account's growing really fast, everybody just is asking you a million questions. I had so many DMs that I didn't pay attention to. But what was shocking to me is that I had a very small following on Instagram, and they paid extra for a video to be posted on Instagram. And honestly, I still struggle with that. I know so much about an engaged following and how much value that brings to a brand, but I'm still shocked when brands pay me to post videos on my smaller Instagram account, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's like such a good, I guess, point to make, especially in this episode, is that sometimes smaller accounts have some of the best opportunities to have engaged followers.
Totally.
And so brands will pay money to put posts up on smaller accounts because they get a bang for their buck.
Yeah. They're not paying for followers. They're paying for your trust and your authority and the actions that your followers take on your content. Like that is the ROI for them, not your follower count.
100%. And I think that if you're listening to this and maybe you have 5,000 followers, maybe you have 20,000 followers, and you're thinking like, oh, well, T and Kate, they, had to get to 40,000 followers before they got their first deals. That is not at all what we're saying. You can absolutely monetize with a smaller audience. We made the mistake of not monetizing sooner. And that's why we're sharing this story. So you can monetize before you get to the point we did.
Yeah. Put that link in bio. End of episode.
Yeah, no, actually, give brands a way to contact you. Even if you are a smaller creator, it is going to make so much of a difference in that early stages of your journey.
Totally. And we're at the very beginning stages of Accidentally Influential. We're going to talk about so many strategies to actually position your accounts to attract brands. But that's coming. We're excited to teach you more about it.
So much.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
From scratch, Yeah. We started this new account and we're building it from scratch, and we definitely have plans to monetize it through partnerships, which we're going to bring you guys along for. So stay tuned for that.
Actually really exciting to think about, building it real time with all the strategies that we're sharing.
Yeah. No,
I love it.
So I guess now we should probably get into the nitty gritty of this episode and really start diving into what the heck is engagement rate? Why does it matter? And as a creator, why do you need to know your metrics? We know that it might not sound fun. It might not be as exciting as just popping on the camera and filming a video. But if you want to have paid partnerships that are aligned, you've got to look at the numbers. And the numbers are not something that should scare you. You shouldn't hide or shy away from looking at them. These are going to inform your next steps. So we talk about engagement rate. I'm just going to read off a very standard definition of engagement rate for you guys, and then we're going to talk about why this actually matters. So in general, your engagement rate is calculated by dividing the total number of interactions. So those are likes, comments, and shares when we're talking about social media posts. And you're going to divide that by the number of people who actually viewed the content. So yes, there is some math involved. Now, if we are talking about actually calculating your engagement rate, we're going to take your total engagements. So once again, how many people have actually interacted with that post, whether that is by liking, commenting, or sharing it, divided by your total views. And then you are going to take that number and multiply it by 100. And that is ultimately going to give you your engagement rate. Now, listen, I don't know about you two. I don't have time to be looking at every single post, calculating an engagement rate, which we all know varies day by day, week by week. And then averaging it across every single post on your page. That's not feasible for anyone.
Especially because evergreen content is constantly racking up. I'm still getting comments and shares and likes on content that I posted 2 years ago. It's always changing.
And that is something for educators that I think it's not like you're just posting this fall clothing haul where it's only going to be relevant for the next 2 weeks. It's like the content you post is probably still going to be relevant years from now.
Totally.
And so I think calculating engagement rate as an educator can feel really overwhelming. But something I've found that helps me is there is a tool called Beacons. It's similar to like a link in bio sort of link tree situation, but they actually have a media kit built into it. And it will monitor your page and calculate this for you. And then you can actually use the URL to your media kit and share it directly with brands. So they get real-time information on who is your audience, what is your engagement rate, which of your recent posts have had the most views. And so that is actually the tool that I use. It's free. And
that's amazing.
Makes my life so much easier. I don't know what
we'll put the link below here. I am old school right now. I was using a tool that I wasn't a huge fan of. I'm not going to mention it. But I might have to try Beacons. So, because right now I'm doing a lot of like monthly manual calculations, which 10 out of 10 do not recommend.
Right. Yeah. And I think the cool thing about Beacons is like, that's not even a tool I use for my actual link in bio. My link in bio is just through Kajabi, which is where I host all of my courses and my website. But Beacons, you don't have to use their actual link in bio tool. You just kind of integrate it with your social media platforms and it will keep an eye on your stats, which is super helpful for creators.
Yeah, that is really helpful. And it's important to know that depending on the brands that you're working with, they have their own tools that they're using to calculate your engagement rates. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't come to the table with that data. You absolutely should, but it's important to make sure that it's an accurate representation of how your accounts are performing, because these brands are going to have receipts on the other end. So definitely having a strategy to lean into this data with authority and being like, this is how my account performs. This is how my people show up. This is, how people take action on my content and meet them where they're at is really important.
Yeah. And I think that segues perfectly into this kind of big loaded question of why the heck do brands actually care about engagement rate, and why do you as a creator therefore need to care about it too? So I don't know, T, if you want to pick up there, but
yeah, absolutely. And it's like also important to recognize where you're like, if you've never heard of engagement rate or haven't considered this at all, that is fine. Like, we are all learning here. I don't know about you, Kate, but I don't even know how many brand deals I was in before I started really leaning into this data and leveraging it in my pitches. I had no idea. I was figuring it out as I went. How about you?
I think it's so funny when I look back and brands would be like, can you send over your metrics? And I'd be like,
can you define that?
40,000 followers. That's the only metric that I know. And now I feel like I wouldn't send a pitch email without being like, here's a link to my media kit. Here's my engagement rate. Here's how many countries my content has reached. Yeah. Because I can do that now. And it makes you feel so much more empowered when you come to the table with data that backs up the rates that you're asking for. But no, as a beginner, you said engagement rate to me and I was like, never. Never. I can look at that.
Yeah, it's right there.
No.
Yeah.
So once again, learn from our mistakes, but
totally. Yeah. And knowing this data is just positions you as authority and as a content creator that these brands can trust. But why did it even care? Like we said, they don't care about followers, because followers don't necessarily equal eyes on your content. It doesn't necessarily equal action taking on your content or conversions or anything. They want to see hard data that your content is actually performing in a favorable way that's going to create results for them. But like I said, brands pay, they want to pay to see that people are seeing your content. I don't know about you, but like the research that I've done on conversion rates and even just seeing things on TikTok, some of these like massive accounts that have like, I was about to say 100,000 followers, but I'm like, I have 100,000 followers.
Right. No,
like 1 million followers, like, yes, yes, they have likes. Yes, they have comments, but like, if you really look at them, a lot of them have the same amount of comments I have on, and my account has like 10% of their followers. So followers don't necessarily mean that people are commenting on your content or liking your content. And if they're not commenting on your content, that to a brand translate, okay, is there really trust? Is there a community here to tap into? Is there authority? Is there anything? What if, if you don't have that engagement level? So really that's what they're paying for, because when people take action on your content, it likely means they're willing to take action outside of your content, aka conversions, and actually purchasing. And that's what they're paying for, the ROI,
Yeah, I completely think you're spot on there. I think it's actually really interesting that sometimes smaller creators have the highest engagement rates. I mean, sometimes even upwards of like 7%, which is kind of crazy, because that I would say is even above standard. I would say a standard engagement rate is somewhere around 5%, means you have a hot and engaged audience. But if we look at big creators, like we're talking accounts with more than 10 million followers, sometimes that engagement rate can dip below 3%, which is significantly lower than what a smaller micro creator might have.
Yeah, which is crazy. I actually, I was listening to this podcast by a social media manager, and he kind of leaks the inside details of the creator industry. Obviously, this is not targeted towards EDUcreators because nobody talks to us, but just in general, brands know that micro influencers are incredibly impactful. They know that their accounts typically come with higher engagement rates. And because of that, we as smaller creators need to know that they know that information so that we don't undervalue ourselves, because it's so easy for me to look at my Instagram that has less than 5,000 followers, and undervalue and accept pennies for a brand deal because my brain's okay, followers equals value, but that's not the truth. These brands know that engagement level, especially for these micro creators, that's where the money is at. And they're going to pay a top dollar if they're going to pay for an account with 10 million followers and not necessarily get the same ROI. So I think that's really important for all of us to really understand when we're working with these brands.
So T, I think you're spot on there. And I just want to double down on this point, just so everybody listening understands, you do not need a huge audience. You need a hot audience. Brands know that they are going to see the biggest return on their investment whenever you have an engaged community of followers who are listening to your content and taking action. And so just because you have 1 million followers, if only 15 of those 1 million followers actually take action, that doesn't really do anything for the brands that they're working with. So you really need to focus on making sure that the community you're building is engaged, trusts your content, and is willing to take action on the things that you're promoting.
Which naturally happens as EDUcreators because people are following you for your brilliance, following you for your wisdom and information that you're sharing for free most of the time. All of us are giving away so much value for free. It starts from the beginning. You already have that established in your audience. You just need to look at that as something that's valuable to brands.
Right. And it's such an organic thing because odds are, if you're talking about a tool in your content, I would hope that you're also accepting brand deals from tools that you know and love. And so when you start talking to your audience organically at the beginning of your page about how you love a particular brand, you've been using them since the beginning of your journey, whatever it is, when you go to post a paid partnership with that brand, eventually your community is going to be like, oh yeah, this feels aligned. She's already talked about how she loves this. Makes total sense that she would do a paid partnership promoting that tool.
Totally. And that's actually a strategy that we're going to talk about in future episodes. If you are wanting brand deals with anybody, your dream list, which you should have a dream list, you have to be posting content that they would be attracted to, that has their name in it. So we'll table that one. But I saw a really cool stat on what was it called? The Influencer Marketing Factory's website. They do just a lot of social media stats for TikTok and Instagram. They said that the educational-based accounts, the EDUcreators, are currently leading the highest average engagement rate across the industry with around 9.5% engagement, which is...
That's crazy.
Right? It's nuts.
That's unheard. I mean, in this industry, 10% engagement rate. And think of this from a brand's perspective. If you know that you are going to partner with a creator and 10% of the people who see this content on that creator's page are likely going to engage with it and take action
organically. Yep.
So much as a brand.
Yeah. I think outside of the education-based content space, brands are paying extra for ads to reach that type of engagement.
Yep.
So y'all,
huge.
We're rock stars over here and we should charge like it.
Louder.
We talk a lot on this show about taking yourself seriously as a creator, and that means setting yourself up like a real business.
That's why we're really excited to be partnering with Taylor Brands. They're an all-in-one platform that helps creators and entrepreneurs like you and me form their LLCs and get their business organized.
When T and I decided to make Not an Influencer Creator Agency official, we actually used Taylor Brands to form our LLC, and the process was honestly so simple.
We were able to file from our laptops at home in like less than an hour. They walked us through the entire process step by step, and we were able to track the status of our filing right from within our Taylor Brands dashboard.
Taylor also offers additional services like helping you get your EIN or set up your business bank accounts, so once your LLC is filed, you've got what you need to keep moving forward.
Plus, tools like their finance manager can help you track your income and expenses as you grow, which, let's be real, is the part most creators avoid.
If you're a content creator ready to treat your platform like a business, search Taylor Business Builder to get started today.
EDUcreators are definitely rock stars. And if you are listening to this episode, maybe you take our advice, you go and you start calculating your engagement rate, and maybe it is not exactly where you want it to be. I don't want you to be frustrated, because the truth is engagement rate is not a static metric, and it is going to vary from time to time. Like, we have both experienced times where our content is not the way we want it to. That's normal. But I think there are strategies you can implement to increase your engagement rate strategically. So T, is there anything that you use in your content when it's not performing the way you want it to?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest green flags as a content creator is to look at all of your content as a test. Like, you are constantly testing what's working. If I have a video that I'm just like, man, I know this content is supposed to land and it's just not. Instead of letting my noodle brain be like, nobody cares about this, or, I got to pivot over here and make a video over here. What is it about this video that did not land? And how can I, A/B testing. It's A/B testing. And one of the things I constantly play with is hooks. I mean, all of us here, we're content creators. Like, we're EDUcreators. We've been creating content. We have to nail down our hooks. But I always like to make sure that my hook is like nailing what my ideal client really, really cares about, which means I need to understand them from the inside out, from their desire points, their pain points, all of the things. And the more that I hone in my hook onto those characteristics of my ideal client, the more I see people sticking around for that first 3 seconds. And if they stick around for the first 3 seconds, pushes out into the algorithm, gets more eyes on it, and touches more people that it's targeting. So,
yeah,
I don't know if you resonate with that, but that's a huge thing in my content.
I totally resonate with that. And I think also something for me at the beginning of videos, I think sometimes there are eras that I go through as a content creator where
totally
pressure on myself to have the perfect hook or the perfect background for my video or something like that. And I feel like sometimes when I get stuck in those ruts, also just putting out something that feels super authentic from the beginning, whether it's my hair is in last night's messy bun, I don't have makeup on, whatever.
Like, you're a human.
Yes. Or I'm sitting in my car and I'm I have this random thought that I need to share right away. Sometimes that is one of the easiest ways to authentically create engagement, because people are oh, wow, this is a person, not this tailored, perfect influencer in front of me.
Totally. And people are tired. They are tired of the same hooks, the same guru strategies that everybody's regurgitating and telling you to do. So I think, Kate, you're spot on, just humanizing it. And we both grew our platforms that way, just being normal education-based creators that want to give and serve, and people saw themselves in us. And that's, people are more willing to engage because they feel part of a community from that sense.
Right. And I think it is very genuine and authentic. Some of my videos with the best engagement are times when I don't have all the answers. And I go to the community asking them for feedback on things. So this is super random. This was the most random video I've ever done on my TikTok page.
Yeah.
Before we adopted our dog, I was considering different dog breeds. And I knew that like this video was not going to be super related to my traditional educational content, but I'm also believing that like your community is going to rally when you have problems in like other
Totally.
your life. Like I want to build an authentic community that cares about what's going on in Kate's life just as much as they care about what's going on in Kate Rob LLC's life.
Yeah.
But I put out a video and I was like, I think we are going to get this dog breed. And the internet,
I'm sure people love that.
Much to say. They were like, absolutely not. Like the video, once again, not my typical content, got pushed out to like over 50,000 people in a matter of weeks who all were giving me like very genuine, authentic feedback.
Yeah.
And I even admitted at the beginning of the video, I was like, I know this is not my traditional content, but I want feedback from the internet. I'm crowdsourcing opinions. And the internet showed up for me.
I love that.
Didn't end up getting a dog breed, ended up getting a different one because I was like actually willing to listen to feedback. So I think whether it is a new change that's happening on like a platform that you teach about. So for example, for me, like if Etsy makes a change, I'm going to make a video saying, here are my thoughts on this change. What do you guys think? Because I want to know, what do you guys think?
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. Like if you have to think about content through the lens of being a consumer too. Are you as a person more likely to engage with this content creator who has their ish together all the time and is constantly just like shoving information down your throat from a state of like, sitting on their high horse? Or are you going to engage with somebody that you feel some sort of personal connection to because you've gotten to know them as a person, not just a teacher or an authority figure. And that's how you really build a community of people that trust what you have to say because they trust you as a person and are willing to engage with your content.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. And I think that's such a cool part of being an EDUcreator is, especially when you accidentally fall into it, is it's like both of us have said in our first episode of this podcast, like we did not set out to become these like experts who had done print on demand for 10 years and knew everything. Like we stepped into this role where we were like, I'm going to share what's working for me in hopes that it can help other people too, or we can kind of grow through this process together. And so I don't always want to show up like I'm this seasoned expert who knows absolutely everything. It's like, I want to show up as the real version of myself who doesn't always have all the answers and also wants to learn from the community that I've built. Like that's the whole point why we build our channels.
Totally. That's so spot on. What about like, so obviously call to action and all of that is hot when it comes to content creation. How do you get people, like other than what we talked about in just a general engagement, like what are some of the call to actions that you typically use to get people to actually comment on your stuff?
So interesting, but I think it's actually very platform specific. So on TikTok, I have found that really organic call to actions work the best. So if I'm like, hey, Etsy made this change, here's my thoughts. What do you guys think? Like drop in the comments. Or has anyone else ever had this situation pop up in their Etsy stores? Like if so, can you let me know in the comment section? Yeah. People are going to do that when you ask them to tell you about their own experiences. I think Instagram can be a little bit more, you can have a firmer call to action and people will actually respond on Instagram. On TikTok, you're not going to be like, go to the link in my bio and select this resource. Like people don't do that on TikTok. On Instagram, obviously you can do things like many chat activations. I think those work super well. But in general, just like ask the people questions, let them answer, let them tell you about their experiences. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to continue that, but I think what you just mentioned, like platform specific engagement and as a creator, understanding how the bodies of people engage differently across platforms is so important if you plan to monetize your platforms and your content creation this way. But you're spot on. Like anytime I give an audience a chance to talk about their businesses, their experience, they need to. And I mean, I have that that human tendency too. It's what we do as humans. So it's not even a strategy. It's just engaging like a human. Right. And I think sometimes we forget the social part of social media. Yeah, totally. Right? engagement is a two-way street. If you want people to engage with your content, you have to give them something to engage with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing that kills me when I look at just brilliant EDUcreators. I mean, I consume a lot of content, but they're getting engagement on their videos, and I don't see a single response to any comment from their community. And I'm just like mind blown, because I see a very tangible difference in my engagement stats. The more I'm engaging with my community in the comment section, answering questions, thinking that, whatever it is, then when I post a video and kind of just ghost as if that's the value there and that's it, I'm going to move on to the next.
Yeah. No, and I love seeing comments on my videos. Like, I love when people share their experiences or give me tips that I can implement, even if it's not about my actual educational content. Like, I go to my community for literally everything, whether it's I'm in a reading slump, what books are you guys reading that you recommend to me? Or does anybody else like this random thing that I just tried? I just got this new flavor of Olipop. Have you guys ever tried it? I
love Olipop.
I know, me too. Dream sponsor for the pod. But I mean, seriously, you are more than just an EDUcreator. You are a person. You are building community. Allow people to see sides of you that are not just this authoritative business figure.
Totally. And believe it or not, I had one brand that when I was, I wouldn't say we were in the negotiation stage or anything at this point, but when they were flattering me about my platform and wanting to partner, that's one thing they recognized in that initial email was how engaged I was in my community beyond just posting a single video. And that is something that they valued, because they know that, if I would post a video for them, I would go above and beyond just posting the video. I would answer questions about the service. I, would hype it up. It would go farther, because that's just who I am as a creator and who I am to my community. And so brands notice those things.
They do. And I mean, think about that. Think about that, once again, the human connection piece of why brand partnerships work on social media. Imagine you are in a group chat with your 5 closest girlfriends, and one of them is oh my God, I just went to this coffee shop and ordered this drink, and it was the best thing I've ever tasted. You're going to that coffee shop. You're going to try.
Totally.
Or Tia's mom, I'm sure when you have people reach out and be this baby product saved us. Yeah. You're going to go and try that baby product because you trust your friends who are recommending these things. You need to build that trust as an EDUcreator so your people rally for you in that exact same way.
Yeah. I think content creators tend to overcomplicate this whole social media strategy. And it's easy to do it because there's so much noise and people selling strategy and selling hacks and tricks and all of these things. And it really comes down to leaning into what feels natural and your personality and your gifts and everything that makes you everything that makes you and why somebody initially came to your community in the first place.
Yeah. So I think for our EDUcreators listening who need a little bit of a challenge this week, because we always want to give you guys things that you can implement right now, start doing, I would say my challenge is stop waiting until you're big enough. You have to start working on the mindset piece of this and figuring out who are the brands you want to work with and how can you serve them in your current state as a content creator. So my challenge is going to be start working on the mindset piece. And I think also calculate your engagement rate. We gave you to do it. Try it out. See what your engagement rate is. And don't be mean to yourself if it's not exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, because all the levers are in your core. You have the levers to start pulling in your content, start testing out different hooks, start being more human, start engaging with your community in your contents, in your comments. You have the levers to start pulling to move those numbers. So when you actually are at the point where you're pitching brands or entertaining inbounds, you're ready. You have the data and you feel confident in it.
Absolutely. And speaking of the data, speaking of inbounds, speaking of all the fun things when it comes to the side of this, Our next episode is going to be talking about brand collabs that do not suck. Because
heck yeah.
We do not want you to take brand collabs that you hate. We don't want you to work with brands that you don't actually like. So if you're interested in figuring out how to vet out brand partnerships, really work with brands that you love, we're going to be covering that in episode 3. We hope that you guys will come back. Please follow the podcast, leave a review, and also join our email list because we have so much more coming. But we will see you guys next week for another episode of Accidentally Influential.